so much for joining us today. I've got Phil with me, and we're going to be talking a little bit about where the automation industry has been and where it is headed. But before I get to the questions that I've got for you, can you give everybody an introduction?
Hi, my name's Phil Furst. I'm the CEO, founder at HFS Research. I've been in the analyst industry for about 25 years and a few years in the consulting space, being an advisor and an analyst covering everything from ERP software to services, outsourcing. And then in 2012, I met a nice little company called Blue Prism, and together we came up with the term RPA, and I've been covering a lot of automation and AI since then. So nice to chat to you, Emma, and nice to meet everybody.
So to pick up right off of what you just said, back in 2012, 10 years ago, we're celebrating this anniversary, so to speak, of RPA. What do you think the automation what do you think the future of the automation industry looks like, kind of with that reflective lens over the last decade?
Yeah, well, it is a kind of turning point coming off the pandemic, I think, where a lot of things got accelerated during the pandemic. So, things like using video conferencing probably would have happened in about 2025, but we started using it because we had to. Automation went from, a kind of a show of how many bots do you have and can you replace people, to something where how can you use automation to actually drive revenue, to fix holes in supply chains, connect up businesses to critical systems like Amazon or Alibaba, things like that. So I think there's been a big shift in rather than using automation just for the back office and saving money and maybe cutting headcounts, to something that is a discipline that companies can use to be much more effective with everything they do.
So while we were getting ready for this conversation, you kind of teased me with this idea of maybe needing a little bit of a reset within the world of automation. Can you share what you mean by that with all of us?
Yeah, we just completed quite a large study, spoke with around 500 enterprises in the Global 2000 around their automation initiatives, and a few things really jumped out. One was, what are the benefits companies are looking for? The number one benefit is, to drive value, to drive revenue, not to just cut cost and look at things in a negative way. The things that really stood out were the fact that companies now judge the success of automation projects on the outcomes they deliver, not on the number of headcounts they managed to reduce, or how many bots did they manage to get moving. So the metrics are around outcomes. There's a disconnect, I think, between what senior leadership wants and then what's happening at the coalface. And some other things that are starting to come out is only a third of licenses for automation software are actually being used by clients. A lot of them are not, and a lot of them are determined to try and get better value out of the investments they made. Others are now starting to think, look, we tried it, it didn't quite work that way, so we're going to adopt a new approach to the whole thing. But the bottom line is automation isn't a strategy. It's a discipline and it's an attitude that companies need to adopt so they can get better quality data in the business, so they can connect systems together, they can function more effectively, they can manage broken breakages in supply chains and inventory and things like that. It's here, it's now, it's not some far off thing in the future. And it's very, very linked to AI. When you start to look at the refinement of automation, you start to think about how can this drive better computer vision for enterprises? How can it drive, more autonomous intelligence? And, for example, if you want to promote businesses over Amazon, you need to have superb AI to understand, customer needs, macro data. How do you plug into promotional systems and things like that? So it's just been a coming of age of automation as an industry and as a discipline that needs to be driven into enterprises.
So for those organizations that are maybe looking to take a different approach, or if we do kind of move through this reset, what are the suggested solutions or approaches that you think we should be considering as kind of a part of this evolution over the next couple of years?
I think one of them is everybody we talk to on the client side is struggling with data and struggling with change. These are the two things that are a big constant for them. How do you get data that's more centralized? How do you, the design processes to get the data you need to be effective? So really the data is getting the data you need is the strategy. And then how do you then design processes to get that data? And then how do you then, once you design those processes, how do you move them into the cloud? Because you want to operate virtually. Once you have data operating, processes operating in the cloud, you've then got to automate them effectively in the cloud. Once they're automating in the cloud, then you can start to refine that data with AI techniques, better feedback loops, systems that drive in computer vision, even things like geospacing technologies. We're starting to see a lot more of that being utilized if you want to operate effectively with a metaverse type offering, that sort of thing.
So it really is taking a more holistic approach to, like you said, not looking at automation as this strategy, but recognizing that you need to build a strategy around your automation and likely have a collection of tools to help you do that over time as well.
That's right, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Phil. Anybody who is not already following him, make sure you make your way over to his LinkedIn, follow him there. He and his team are constantly publishing insights and information that I think is a must follow for anybody in this space. But thank you again so much for joining me, and have a wonderful day, everyone.
If you're looking for expert tips on how to get started with your transformation or looking to hone in on your approach, make sure that you subscribe to our channel to catch our weekly Digital Transformation Talk series, where we interview experts from around the world on how to make it happen.